All right. We are here in the building. This is the Mass Media Group. And we are here with, can you say your name, please?
Dawn Page.
Miss Dawn Page. Okay, so where are you coming from, Miss Dawn Page?
I'm coming from Durham, North Carolina, representing Concerned Black American Citizens, Inc.
All right. So, first of all, where are you from? And then where are you from, if you know what I'm saying, the question.
Okay. Where I'm living at currently is Durham, North Carolina. Where my people are from is Warrenton, North Carolina, Charles City, Virginia on my mother's side, and as I said, North Carolina and South Carolina on my father's side. So I'm definitely ethnically Black American.
All right, so it sounds to me that your lineage is deep rooted here in the United States.
I would say so. I have traced parts of my mother's lineage back to 1721 in Virginia and back to the early or to the mid 1700s in South Carolina on the McBride line in South Carolina. So I go way back, at least I can trace back at least 10 generations.
Okay, so I'll get back to that, but I want to talk to you. Why are you here, like in California right now? Because there was a reparations, or I say reparations, but really it was an appropriations hearing here in California based on some reparations bills. So can you explain to us like why you decided to come all the way out to the East Coast to visit us here in the wonderful sunny California?
Yes, I would love to tell you that story. I've been involved with the reparations movement since, I would say, about February of 2019, and early on met through the ADOS movement, met many of my fellow organizers today, most prominently Chris Lodgson. And I've been involved with the Reparations Task Force here in California, participating in the virtual hearings since the beginning, which started essentially during the pandemic. So we were pretty much shut in and we would listen. I would say I, along with other activists, probably listened to 100 hours of hearings for the task force. So the task force completed, and here we are now in the implementation stage. And the spate of bills that Senator Bradford has put forth, which was SB 1403, SB 1331, and SB 1050, a reparations package for an agency, a fund, and the return of property taken by eminent domain, has made it through, I believe, 4 separate committee hearings. All of them important, but this one, the suspense hearing, is where colloquially bills go to die. And so I wanted to be here to show my support during what I thought was a very critical vote that could come at a time when maybe people felt like we were over the finish line, but not quite, before we get to the big show, which is the General Assembly, and then, of course, to the governor's desk. So I felt it was important. I was compelled to come specifically to support this effort today, because if these bills had not have made it today, we would have been finished. There would be no floor vote. So that's why I was so compelled to come. I felt like it was a completion of my advocacy work and my participation in this effort out here, and I didn't want to leave any other work undone. And so I felt it was important to come today so that I'll be able to come back when Governor Newsom signs those 3 bills.
And we definitely appreciate you, Dawn, and everything that you do and your support. Now, do you have any relatives out here in California, or have you lived in California yourself at any point of time?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm not only just a zealot, I'm also technically a beneficiary, as I lived here for 1 year. But even more importantly, I think I have at least 50 family members that live mainly in Southern California, some in Northern California, but more importantly, my daughter and her husband live in LA, and her husband is born and bred here, and his family actually moved here from Tennessee in the 1940s. So we have deep roots here in California. So not only am I invested in the fight for the collective, obviously it personally impacts me. So yeah.
All right. Now, in terms of your relatives, did they know about reparations here in California? And if
Because
so, are they supportive of it, or are they not supportive of it?
I would say that they are interested because I'm interested. They know about it because I've told them about it. But as each milestone that we approach is met with success, they become more and more interested, and which I think is very much, human nature. People like to get behind a winner or a winning plan, and what we're seeing unfolding in California is a winning plan for our reparations, our restitution. And so I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of my family members who are right here, but the larger family become more involved in getting this ball across the final goal line.
So when people say, well, look, it's out in California. I don't live in California. Why should I support what's going on in California when I don't live there?
Right. Well, I think that if you want to go with cliches, one of them, as California goes, so goes the rest of the country. California is the fifth largest economy in the world, so that's a good starting ground to initiate a program like this. They have a large budget, large infrastructure. So we should care, because if these bills go through, that will set and establish a precedent. One has already been established as far as delineation and disaggregation with the SB 189 that disaggregated at least state employees along the lines of lineage. But we need this win here in California because we hope to push this out to the rest of the country at the state level and then level it up to the federal level. So we're really encouraged by the model. We think that the Freedmen's Agency is the core component of being able to implement any type of restitution or reparations plan. And I'm excited about the progress, and I'm very confident that we are going to be successful here in California.
All right, so let's talk about North Carolina. Let's go back. Let's go back
Yeah.
to the East Coast.
Yeah.
Coast. So North Carolina. Can you tell us out? I think there's some going on in the city of Asheville right now.
There is.
Can you tell us about that? And we did hear there's a little rumor going around that at one point you may have been involved in terms of a commission somewhere. I don't know if that was in
High
South Carolina.
Point, North Carolina.
North Carolina. I don't know if you can
There's
talk
that.
about that or not. But before we go on to that, can you kind of give us an update in terms of what's going on specifically in Asheville?
Asheville has that's a population, I think, of 93% non-white, maybe 7% descendants. So right off the bat, it was interesting that that's where a commission popped up. Suffice it to say, they did a lot of good work in terms of the implementation and the programming that has come out. It was not a lineage-specific approach. It was basically more or less I don't even know what to call it, a social justice equity package. I don't know what type of tangibles have been delivered, but they are, I would say that it was a good study, but nothing has really come from it.
Okay, have they sunsetted yet, or are they still going through the commission?
No, the commission is over. I believe they're establishing a permanent, some sort of entity, but I know that there's a nonprofit that was very closely associated with it. I think it's called Reparations Justice Coalition. And so I just noticed they are recently hiring an executive director. So it's almost like possibly an agency type, but it's not really. Um, I wouldn't say that Asheville is at all a model, for our particular claim that we are fighting for. That
Okay.
did not fulfill the bill.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching. We really appreciate you for staying informed and staying updated and staying educated. You have a chance, and I know you will have a chance, go to etmmediagroupstore.com, etmmediagroupstore.com to help support what we're doing. Especially we got that new fire merch, 40 acres and a mule. So go ahead, pick up your shirt or your tank top, because I know it's hot out there all across the world, and especially here in the States. So go ahead and pick up yours. All right, please like, share, and subscribe, and let's get back to it. So there was nothing like here in California in terms of like a Freedmen's, or at least an attempt to create, an agency, a municipal agency in Asheville at all. Nothing.
No.
Okay.
No, there was no discussion of lineage whatsoever. I think it turned into more of like an income study, like a relative income study. But I can't really speak to the details on that. I just know that the outcomes, from what I scanned of the reports, that it's not reparations and it's not lineage specific, so it's just another, social program.
Gotcha. All right. So first of all, can we talk about your involvement on?
Sure.
Okay, because I didn't know if there was like some litigation or something.
No,
Nothing
maybe
like that.
there should
Okay.
be on my part
On your
against
part,
the
huh?
city of High Point.
Okay, so let's talk about High Point. Can you explain, I guess, how you got involved with, and I believe, did they call it a commission or a task force? What do they call it?
It was
there?
called the One High Point Commission. So they did not want to use reparations. They did not really want it to have that tone, but of course they use our statistics and story as a basis for launching that. And that was the local High Point NAACP that initiated that work with the city council
Okay.
for that to come about.
So, I guess my first question is why do you think they wanted to create this study? First of all, I guess that's my first question.
I believe that, well, I don't believe, I know that in Cobra is, generally speaking, going out and approaching different municipalities to see their appetite to initiate a task force.
So in Cobra or its members were heavily involved in trying to set this.
Literally.
That's okay. So was
So
it predominantly most of
began
them
with
on
a
the
letter
Okay.
to the NAACP, a letter that essentially spoke against using a lineage approach, but essentially they helped them put together a plan of action to approach the city and get this commission going.
So how did you get involved? Was there a vote to get on the board? How did this come about? How did you get on the commission originally?
What had happened was
What had happened was
is that someone living in the city of High Point had seen my advocacy work and reached out to me and solicited me to become a member or to apply to be on the commission. So at the time I was, very excited about the opportunity, but I was not a resident of High Point. So I purchased some property there so that I was eligible, and then I applied, and long story short, was appointed to the commission.
okay. So the next question that's coming up So, what happened? Because I wasn't too. I saw some maybe clips or some news about it here or there, but we want to hear from your perspective, Don, because sometimes the mainstream media, or just we know how social media gets, right? Where
Right.
there's a lot of stuff going on, and sometimes we don't actually hear from the people that were like truly involved in it. So, can you please explain from your perspective what happened?
Well, I think what happened was that I went in there with very high expectations and thinking that I was dealing with a board or a commission that had the same objective as I did, which was to repair and restore descendants, Black American descendants of slaves, and nothing could have been further from the truth. I was faced with a group of people who were basically there to pad their resumes. I shouldn't be so cynical. I shouldn't be so cynical. Perhaps coming from an advocacy angle and being a little more deeply ingrained in our story, the narrative, and what the debt that is owed, and these people were essentially starting at ground zero and maybe didn't have the same level of enthusiasm that I had. So that probably created conflict, that my passion versus theirs. But it's very much a stacked deck. The board had 3 or 4 members from the same local nonprofit. It was set up. It was set up. Set up as a vehicle through which funding would come through and ultimately end up in the hands of a local nonprofit in the NAACP. So were they really trying to hold the city of High Point accountable? And then in looking at the records of High Point, the history of High Point, there really was, High Point was formed, I think, 1 year before the war. So when I looked at the premise even for why this city, which essentially did not exist and literally had no slaves in its county, what was really going on. And it just became obvious, that it was a grift, that it wasn't what it was supposed to be. So the problem came, as I was on the research committee and requesting information on certain disparities that we just weren't able to move forward and collect any information. The commission wasn't funded. It was just disorganized, and it was very, distressing. So we, in our meetings, spoke of those frustrations and, decided that we wanted to go to the city council and ask for the chair to step down, for them to fund the commission, and for the city to release that information. So during the city council meeting, I went up after the city council meeting was over and in adjournment, and they were chatting, approached the dais to speak, spoke loudly, and the mayor, Richard Wagner, asked for them to remove me. And so when I resisted so that I could get my purse, that's when they put the handcuffs on me and dragged me out.
So, in terms of, let me see how I could put this, because that's a very traumatic experience. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? That
because
somebody has to
the
go
other
through.
the NAACP selection committee actually went to the mayor and asked them to have me removed. Now there were some other things that had happened. I won't say that it wasn't a good decision on their part, that was a different time in my advocacy growth and maturity.
Advocacy growth.
But their intentions weren't pure, and I could have handled that a lot better, but the result would have been the same. I think. Yeah.
So did anything come to fruition from the High Point
I
meetings or
wrote
anything?
a
or-
damn good list of policies for them, and they published them. Will they ever happen? I do. I have no. It was a good exercise, but no.
So did they? Because I know we follow a lot of stuff here in the mass media group. Unfortunately, we can't get everything. So nothing came about. Did they ever publish anything? A report?
They published. They had a public meeting.
Okay.
But beyond that, I lost contact with them. But I don't believe anything has come from that. I'm still on the High Point NAACP mailing list. That it was never a sincere attempt. There was internal conflict over what the purpose of the commission was for. So it wasn't a sincere attempt, but it was a good education.
Okay. A couple more questions. So, on the federal level, right, in terms of reparations, I don't want to assume, but have you read H.R. 40?
Yes.
Yes, for H.R. 40. Can you give us your thoughts on H.R. 40? Should there be updates, not updates? What do you think about that?
In general, think about H.R. 40. I think its time the window for it has passed. I think that the updates made to it that has added in several layers of bureaucracy, just remove a lot of I think accountability to the grassroots community, and I just think that there's a lot of room in there to appoint bad actors onto the commission itself. I think that we should, at the federal level at this point, and H.R. 40 also does not have criteria that speaks to, I would like to see at least a two-thirds of any commission having to be of the descendant community. But instead of H.R. 40, I think what we need to do is, if we were going to do something at the federal level, it would be an executive commission, a presidential executive commission where you have all of the department heads, and it would be by executive order, and you can put a plan in place, which several plans like that exist for Hispanics, for even Africans and Caribbeans and other groups. So AAPI is another group. So, but yeah, HR 40, I think its time has passed. I would suggest that we use the California study. My organizer, compatriot, also mentioned us using the Kerner report and just adding and updating that. So no more studies. We
Cut
just
the check.
need logistical planning.
To cut the check. Okay. So what does reparations look like to you? What is your idea about reparations?
So again, I think that the Freedmen's Agency or Department of Freedmen Affairs at the federal level, with us having a cabinet secretary that sits with the president in all the meetings, is critical. The genealogy aspect, the legal aspect, arm of it, like our own Department of Justice, which was originally established for our community. But I think those are the two most powerful first to identify us, count us, and then to enforce freedmen rights for American Negroes who are descended from slaves. So I think that's critical, and I think that closing the lineage wealth gap, and at bare minimum, it's $400,000 a person, and that's not even inflation adjusted. And definitely the 40-acre land vouchers. Whether you want to buy 10 here, 30 there, but you buy 40 acres wherever you choose to. So I think those are the key elements: the agency, the land, the cash. I think the entire community is pretty centered on those last two and not fully appreciate the importance of the first. But you have to have your government agency. You need an agent to tell the government to cut the check. So there will be no check cut without an agency. I just want y'all to deal with that.
All right. Are you okay to talk about Kamala Harris or no?
Sure.
Shall we talk about Kamala? All right. First of all, did you see the Freedmen's Bank Forum?
Yes, I did.
You did? Okay. Can you give us your thoughts and opinion on Kamala Harris and her involvement with
Two words.
Yes, ma'am.
Stolen valor.
Well, there you go.
Stealing the accomplishments, achievements of Black American Negro freedmen, exploiting the inequalities for non-Negro interests. I can't. The Freedmen Bank Forum is the epitome of that. And everyone there. Stolen valor. It's just incredibly insulting. John Hope of Hope Operations, or Operation Hope, has completely, appropriated a legacy that he has only a small share in, and taken it upon himself to brand it and then, hand it out to, people who are not deserving, who are not of that lineage, of that legacy, who literally just got here. And I think it's egregious that we have people in our community that will sell short our cultural assets. And what was even worse is that the original Freedmen's Convention happened in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I doubt if I'm sure they were too ignorant. John Hope of Operation Hope is too ignorant to even know of that history. And if he was aware of it, makes it doubly egregious that they would have this forum in Raleigh and not even speak to the 3-day convention of newly freedmen who set out an entire manifesto on how our entire community should move forward after emancipation, and for them to come and basically exclude us, feed off of our legacy, exploit our legacy, and then it was just it was almost painful. No, it was painful.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm not going to ask this question in terms of like the presidency and so forth. I believe people can vote however they want to vote for. But just from your opinion, what would be, because a lot of people, maybe they don't know that there's other candidates running for president outside of Kamala Harris and,
Right.
Donald Trump. But from your perspective, just give me two things for Black Americans in terms of why they should vote for Trump or why they shouldn't vote for Trump, and two reasons why they should vote for Kamala and why they shouldn't vote for Kamala. Or no, not two, but just what are your reasons, I guess? Should they vote for Trump, and then why they should vote for Kamala or not?
Let me shoot for Kamala first, because that'll be harder. Kamala. Why to vote for Kamala? I don't know. Why not to vote for her? She has no Black agenda. I don't feel like she feels any obligation to our community other than our vote. I don't appreciate the way she has not given any interviews or spoken to policy. I don't appreciate the dancing in lieu of, policy. I don't appreciate any of that. So that makes me think she doesn't take me serious, so I don't take her seriously. And From a Trump perspective, if we are honest and we look at history and we look at what our ancestors have been saying since emancipation, starting with Frederick Douglass, we know that immigration, unfettered, um, hurts us. And I believe that there's something called, scarcity of demand and, supply demand equilibrium. So, regardless of who it is, if you have a finite amount of resources, you cannot increase the number of users by an exponential rate and not expect to experience shortages and inflation. And shortages can be in food, housing, and jobs. We have seen all of that. It would be different if these populations were spread more equitably throughout the country and not just in resource-strapped black communities. So if I were to look at that as an immediate impact, when we can look at the period of the 1940s or post when they had a moratorium on immigration, and we did see wage increases for black men and white men to the tune of 400 and 200% respectively. So supply and demand, it's math. It's math. So if I were to look at that in terms of what policies are offering, that would appeal to me. That does appeal to me in terms of securing the future for my grandchildren and job opportunities for our high school graduates and our community college graduates that are also impacted by chain migration or immigration. His other policies, birthright citizenship, I believe that in the Constitution. I believe that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments are for the descendants of slaves only, and that two illegal immigrants cannot make an American, and barely any other way. So I believe that that is critical. There's a huge loophole and a huge extraction of resources through that type of immigration to our country. He has expressed, the Platinum Plan, better or worse. He also had the 10-point plan. But I believe that contracts, government contracts, which we are owed through the 1866 Civil Rights Act and other pieces of legislation, Trump speaks to that. And so if I were looking for tangible policies, I could look at Trump's platform and say that, yeah, there's something there for me to vote for. As a reparationist, I don't want reparations to be politicized. I feel we as a black American community should ascend the duopoly, and whoever is in the White House needs to meet our policy needs. And that's really where I'm at right now. But if I had to pick today, I'm an independent now. I definitely am not a Kamala supporter, and I'm definitely, through the course of this fight for reparations and doing our history and learning more and more about what ails our community, I do not see how the Democratic platform is supportive of the black American family. And so for me, then it's not a party for me. Do I have a political home right now? No, I don't, because I don't believe that Donald Trump really cares about. Do I need him to care about me? No. But I want us to get to a point where it's policy only, and both parties are invested in repairing us because the Constitution says that they are supposed to.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, Don, first of all, thank you for coming. Coming out all the way from the East Coast. We really appreciate you in this fight and your advocacy work, first of all. Before we go, any last words? And two, if you have any social media accounts that you want to say or don't say, that's up to you.
I never give out social media handles. That's not me. But what I will say in final words, I think that what happened today is phenomenal, an amazing gift and relief, spiritual relief. My commitment to the movement, to the fight is renewed, and I feel that everyone should take heart in what happened today and understand. I feel like we did ascend the political gerbil wheel today. What it takes is persistence, hard work, and continued interaction with your legislators. What I'm hoping to see after this is that we, in several states, begin to push to duplicate what's been done here in California. So I'm very optimistic that that is real work that multiple people can do at different skill sets. And so that's what I'm hoping to push. Once I hit ground back in North Carolina, I'm going to be calling up my senator and telling her the news of what's happening out here, and we're just going to get to work on that. Ultimately, I'm following the lead of some of the activists out here, like NASD, on the federal move, but we're formulating that. But I think this is a very solid base that should then level up to federal. I think that's a better way for it to go, actually.
All right. Thank you very much, Don. Appreciate you.
Thank you.